Hello and welcome to the Sewing Studio. Today we've got something a little bit different for you. We've got this amazing quilt which has been made by one of our lovely customers, and Cecily is here today and she's going to talk to us about what's inspired her to make this quilt. So welcome, Cecily.
Thank you.
I absolutely love this quilt. So tell me about your inspiration.
Well, I suppose over the years I've just loved to tell a story in a quilt and to make it personal to that person, and that's what I've begun to love about quilting. So this was sort of inspired by a lecture I went to with Janet Clare, who was doing a memory quilt, and I thought that's a great idea. And then because of the situation, my brother was sailing, and I just thought I would make this quilt for my brother and his wife when they got back, because she was always freezing and she always needed a quilt from far away places, really. So, and the other person was Annie Downs of Hatched and Patch. She brought out this pattern called Here, There and Everywhere, and it really suited what he was doing and the journey he was making. So that's what inspired me, really.
Well, there's so much to see, and so I want to ask you about a few of the blocks on this, and I just wanted to say how inspiring it is to see a quilt that has been made using squares and rectangles, because the other thing is we all get really hung up about patterns and shapes, and this has been done with squares. So did you draw it out first? Did you plan it first?
Well, the plan really came from the Annie Downs pattern, really. But I knew what I wanted to put in it, and I knew which of hers I wanted to put in and which I wanted to make my own, really. But the squares were so useful because they've travelled up to London on the train with me and on planes going to see my daughter in Australia, and they're so portable.
Brilliant.
So
Yeah,
you can take them and do it.
Easy to work with, having
Yeah.
a square.
Yes, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's
So
brilliant.
I'm loving this bee up here. So tell us more about him.
Oh, well, their boat was called Bee's Knees, and that was Mr. B. And he was on the boat. He was on this boat at the front there. So that was quite difficult to do. So I sort of traced it and bond-webbed it and appliqued it with the machine. But it was quite tricky because it's so precise of what I wanted. The face isn't quite right. He looks crosser there than he did on the boat.
No, that's brilliant. And my favourite out of all of these, I keep looking at it, is the whale down there.
The whale.
I love the whale because there's a little bit of texture in the fabric there where he's come to the surface. I love that.
Yes, yeah. This was an old scarf, actually.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know whether you can, but it was sort of a frayed old scarf that I put in. So
That's
use
lovely.
that and use lots of little bits of material, which was great, really. You could use up your scraps.
Yeah, perfect, because you've got these smaller blocks here where you can use up your little tiny pieces here and here.
And here, there's quite a lot of them, really.
And the other thing I like is where you've actually used the design of the fabric, like this one with the cloud and the birds. I think that's a really clever idea.
Yeah, it worked well, actually.
I'm intrigued by this one, Cecily. What's that all about?
Oh, well, it says having our favourite tipple along the way, and Pepe, Steve's wife, used to like a loaded coffee as they were travelling along sailing, and a loaded coffee is coffee with rum in it. So this sort of portrays Mr. Rum Mug, I think.
Excellent. I like the sound of that. I think I'm going to get myself into loaded coffees.
Loaded coffees.
And then you've got some gorgeous fabrics. So I saw a lovely batik somewhere. Where did I see that?
These two.
Oh, right, yeah,
those
these ones.
two were from the Aborigines when we went to Australia. My daughter was working with the Aborigines in Port Hedland, and they were making pictures and drawing pictures and doing artwork and selling material. So that came from there. And the bird one came from Sri Lanka. Right. So there's bits from our travels as well.
Absolutely stunning. And then I've just noticed, I've looked at this so many times, but I've only just noticed the north, east, south, west blocks on the corner. And yet I've looked at this so many times. There's so much to see.
No. Well, it was quite good because Pepe used to do on a blog every day on a thing called Mail a Sale. So I could plot their journey. So this was their journey,
Wow.
which was quite good. And also when they arrived and when they left. They left in 2008 and arrived back in 2019. So it was, they didn't hurry about this. This was a long
That's
term.
amazing.
Yeah, but they did pop home every so often.
Yeah, as you do.
As one does, yeah. But yeah, it worked well, really. But Annie Downs had a lot more houses because it was caravans and things, whereas I turned into fishing for their meals and sailing and things like that. And
So I love this one here as well. So this is about Japan.
yes, yeah. Well, they travelled across land in some places. So they travelled by camper van and car and train to Japan and Myanmar and China and Japan. And these were fun to do because of that one and the Pacific atolls somewhere. It's just wonderful to learn about the Pacific atoll and Galapagos, or the world really. I learned so much about the world and geography, and because I didn't really know where these places were. And Ventuati, which this man here was one of the tribesmen.
Yes.
And they said that Prince Philip was the king of their country because they loved him so much. And I got sent a picture of my brother in just a thong thing. Which wasn't very good because he was dancing with the tribesmen. So yeah, so
Amazing. So it's not just a memory quilt for them. It's also a lesson in our world and geography. And I'm just amazed and blown away by it. It's absolutely stunning.
and a lesson for me in quilting because the things I've done, like putting photographs on linen
Yes.
paper, I've never done that before. So it was all a big journey for me as well as them. And Martin, my husband, says, well, they can lie in bed and point to something when they're older and say, do you remember this? So that's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
that's absolutely lovely.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Well,
Lovely.
thank you. Thank you for bringing it in and
Pleasure.
sharing it with us. So I hope Cecily's quilt has inspired you, and I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen today. And maybe you could have a go at something like this that creates memories in small bite-sized blocks, and then you can put it all together. As I always say, make it your own, have fun, and I look forward to seeing you here in the sewing studio the next time.